One of their states is going to make you feel frightened and intimidated and used and exploited. And the other one of their states that they're going to show up as is going to make you feel a strong desire to protect and to nurture. And if you don't do that, you're going to feel massive guilt and shame. So what's the effect on the target? So imagine you have a timeline that goes like this, and you're exposed to the narcissistic personality disordered individual, and you're going through two different states. They're showing up in two different states, and they could switch in a minute. They could show up in fight mode and be bullying and aggressive and highly narcissistic, classically narcissistic. Then they can show up as the vulnerable victim child on a dime inside of the same minute. And you're exposed to that over time. So now you have two stresses. You have the stress of the fact that you're in some kind of an intimate relationship where there's something at stake. Narcissistic abusive relationships only take place when there's something at stake. If the bus driver is a narcissistic abuser, you just screw you and disappear. If it's somebody who has no hold over you, you don't love them, you're not sexually intimate with them, there's no financial arrangement with them, there's no familial tie with them, you would just walk away. Let's assume that you can't. So you can't walk away. They're showing up in two states that are completely contrary to each other, which is massively confusing for you, because they now seem like two people when they're one. And then the third thing you have to deal with across time is it's inducing two different emotional states in you. So they're showing up in two different emotional states as two different people, seeming to have split personality disorder, but they don't. They're just two strategies. And now you're processing all of this from two different states. One is one where you feel exploited, humiliated, and fearful, terrorized. And the other one is one of guilt and shame if you don't do the job of nurturing that vulnerable child who shows up. Imagine the horror of that. Imagine you're not you, and I just described this happening to somebody who's like you but isn't you. Wouldn't you feel sorry for that person? Imagine that goes on for a month, 6 months, 2 years, 20 years of being cycled through your reality being this and your reality being that. Your emotional state being this and your emotional state being that. Your intimate partner showing up as two different people and you trying to figure out which one they're going to be at any moment in time. And then unconsciously, your desire to keep the peace in a slightly people-pleaser and codependent way when you should just leave. Your desire to keep the peace, to make things okay, and to save that vulnerable child you can see, keeps you in a state of hypervigilance where you now have to become somewhat manipulative. You now have to become somewhat controlling because you're trying to avoid the landmines that you're dancing through on a daily basis.
We're going to be talking about a really awful dynamic in narcissistic relationships called baiting. I've never seen a narcissistic relationship where baiting isn't present. Let me set this out by starting with a scenario. You're in a narcissistic relationship. It can be any relationship. It can be a parent, it can be a friend, it can be a partner. You've learned to gray rock, and you've learned to disengage, and you've learned the don't defend, all that stuff, right? You're doing great. And they start getting these little jabs in. Little jabs. Maybe they go after things that start to matter to you. A friend, even your child, your appearance, a health issue, and they keep going. You still keep your cool. And this goes on for a while. At some point, you react. You react because at some point, the narcissistic person who's been studying you carefully for a long time, and they know what matters to you, right? For all their lack of empathy, they know what matters to you. And they hit just that point. For a lot of us, for example, it's our kids. It's a classic example, right? Or someone we care about. And then you say, enough. And you have a strong reaction. You may cry. You may yell. You may feel out of control. You may find yourself like with your fist clenched and you just can't believe the rage. They will do things like take personal, confidential information you shared with them during the relationship because you thought this was your partner or someone close to you, and they will weaponize it and they will turn it against you or even threaten you with it. That's baiting. One thing I want us to really hit is that your reaction to being baited is actually normal. This is a person who is attacking you. We are going to have an emotional reaction. You are not AI. You are not a robot. And I really want to lift that stigma of, I'm sure many of you have thought this, well, maybe I'm as bad as them because I'm the one who's yelling. I'm the one who's screaming. I'm the one who wants to, break something. I'm as bad as him. No, you're not. This is one of the most heartbreaking parts of a narcissistic relationship, especially when it's a parent or a partner, someone you've confided in, someone who knows your vulnerabilities. These are people who actually hold a sacred knowledge of you, and they're willing to turn it into a weapon. The baiting dynamic might be one of those universals of the narcissistic relationship. One thing that's very common when they are baiting you, so they'll go at you, jab, 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 jab. You don't react, you don't react, you don't react, you react. And then after you react, they'll say, oh my gosh, can't you take a joke? And that whole can't you take a joke is the ultimate gaslight. It's not uncommon for narcissistic people to do the can't you take a joke thing in public. So you're in front of other people, family, dinner, party, whatever, jab, 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 and then you react. Narcissistic people are so skilled, especially the grandiose narcissists and to some degree the communal narcissists, at being so well loved by everyone, right? Oh, what a great guy, so cool. I used to know him. Oh, she's lovely. Your mom, oh my gosh, she does so much for everyone, that kind of thing, right? And so they're sort of invested in this version of this person. So when they are going at you, there's sometimes even the enablers, the audience, call them what you will, might wonder, well, what, we don't know everything. Maybe this person, you, is the problem as well. What happens over time is that the baiting dynamic breaks you down. And that's what a narcissistic relationship is. It's a breaking down, which is why many of you, especially if this is an adult narcissistic relationship, friendship, workplace, and certainly a partner, you'll look back and say, whoa, 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 I don't put up with this stuff anywhere else in my life. But in this one space, you find yourself so vulnerable. It's not because you're weak in this space, nothing like that. It's because they have been systematically breaking you down for a long time.
If you want to drive a narcissist crazy, treat them with indifference. Treating a destructive narcissist to a healthy dose of indifference, more often than not, will drive them absolutely mad. Narcissists feel entitled to treat others with unwarranted and unprovoked contempt and disdain. When the tables turn, they're often completely destabilized. They can't figure it out. It's a classic case of rules for thee, but not for me scenario. The double standard. They can treat others like absolute goo on their shoe, but the moment they realize their existence means nothing to you, you're completely and utterly indifferent to their presence, or whatever it is they think they have to offer, it drives them bananas.
We do know with, in narcissistic relationships, what we're doing is we're grieving, in most cases, living people. Living people who we have to have dinner with, and we still have to see, and we still have to, we still have to work with. And so you're grieving this never ending, it's kind of like this grief loop that keeps playing again and again. This chronic reminder. Someone recently said, they're constantly reminded when they see other people's lives. Like, for example, they were watching the relationship someone had with their mother, and they said, when I see other people's relationships with, for example, their parents, I'm reminded of what I never got. And that brings the grief for them almost anew, as though this whole, like they're being reminded of all the losses over and over and over again.
You will never ever get clarity with a narcissist, ever. The way that they keep you is by confusing you, by never giving you clarity. A question that could have two possible answers, yes or no. They will give you a 5-minute long answer where by the end, you don't know if the answer is yes or no. They build that really strong, an illusion of a really strong relationship at first, a really strong foundation of trust. And then bit by bit, they start taking that away. But you still have the memory of that period of time when they were really loving, when they were really trustworthy. And you think that maybe if you ask the question differently, or maybe if you do something differently, they might go back to being that person that they were at the beginning. But that person they were at the beginning never existed.
Narcissistic people will not, under any circumstances, own up to or accept responsibility for their toxic and hurtful attitudes and behavior. You're too sensitive. And they say this for no other reason than they don't have the decency or integrity to acknowledge or admit that their words have hurt you deeply. So they project blame and shame and make it all your fault. The bottom line message is, you're the issue. You're so sensitive. You're so emotional. you're overreacting. Again, they feel entitled to cut you, rub salt in the wound, and then ridicule you for having a legitimate feeling about it. Then they'll attempt to gaslight you by saying, "What are you even talking about? What's wrong with you?" If you let them. Don't let them.
Can you tell me why?
What narcissists look for are people who have like that opening, vulnerability.
Is it energetic? Is it a behavior style?
Well, it's energetic. It's really energetic, actually. Narcissists look for people who are going to do things for them and make them look good. Narcissists are going to go after anyone of value. So I always say to people who, because it seems so counterintuitive because they're devaluing people all the time, but narcissists don't attach themselves to you because you have so little value. They attach themselves to you because you have so much.
Here's what most of us are getting confused about empathy. I just heard the most fascinating interview of Daniel Goleman, who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence, on the Gaslighting Effect podcast with Dr. Robin Stern. He explains what empathy is, and then I had this big flash of insight about how it connects to narcissistic abuse. He said there are 3 components to empathy, not 2. There's the cognitive empathy, which is the ability to understand another person's perspective, understand the language they're using, understand how they see the world. The second is emotional empathy, and that is understanding and sensing what they're feeling, connecting with them emotionally. Here's the other one that we're missing that's critical in understanding what goes wrong with narcissists and narcissistic abuse, and it's called empathic concern. That's something that narcissists don't have. That's how like a mother feels for their child. You know, that connection of like you understand the pain, you see it, you relate to it, and you feel this intense connection with that person around it, and you don't want them to hurt. He said this is what creates emotional safety. When someone has empathic concern, they're concerned about us and our well-being, and they're protective of us. Narcissist and anybody toxic does not have any empathic concern about you. And he goes on to say that this gets really dangerous because if you don't have it, you have the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, to understand their viewpoint, their perspective. You may even sense their feelings, but if you don't care, if it means nothing to you, and you're even maybe giddy and happy that it's hurting them, whoa, that's toxic. That's evil. So, have you heard of empathic concern?
Narcissists do not pick losers. They pick the smartest, the best, the most capable, and the most giving. If you have a narcissist in your life, take a moment to think about why. You are stronger and smarter than them. They need you, not the other way around.
I read something today that said, in the narcissist's mind, why do they want to destroy us when we genuinely just want to love them so much? There was a response on there that really made a lot of sense. And it said, narcissists only choose good people. And this is true. They choose people that they see value in, someone that they have a hard time being. It's a battle for them, and we are showing them something that they struggle with. So it's better to destroy something that they can't become. So they take something so good because they're drawn to it, because opposites attract, but they can never be that. So they have this jealousy and they feel the need to destroy you. They mirror good, but they cannot be good. And as they try to be more like you, they become more jealous and they break you down more and more. And it is a constant battle within themselves. So then they start realizing their flaws, probably more likely on a subconscious level, and it makes them secretly hate you. So they feel like they have to destroy you. They feel like they have to destroy what they can't attain.
Should you ever confront a narcissist? Like somebody's going to come listen to this podcast and be like, all right, that's it. I'm calling dad. Nope. If we only said one thing in this entire podcast episode, never, ever call out a narcissist. We would be giving the single most brilliant piece of advice. Why do you never call out a narcissist. They're going to rage at you and they're going to scream at you. And they may be telling everybody out there that you are the narcissist. I think the better way to play that is you see them, now change your behavior. Stop being supply for them. Stop engaging with them. Stop taking the bait. If you call home and the first thing out of somebody's mouth is, haven't heard from you in a long time, you should not say, the phone works both ways.
No way. No, if you know this person's narcissistic, absolutely not. So they say, haven't heard from you in a long time. And you'd say, no, you haven't.
Oh.
And then where are they going to go with that? Because what you've done is you've taken away the volley. They're playing tennis. You need to play solid.
Narcissist's hidden rage lies beneath her polished and often charming exterior, emerging when her ego is threatened or her needs are unmet. Unlike overt expressions of anger, her rage is covert, manifesting through passive-aggressive behavior, silent treatment, or calculated acts of sabotage. She may lash out indirectly, spreading rumors, undermining others, or using backhanded compliments to express her resentment while maintaining her facade of composure.
The covert narcissist is the most dangerous kind of narcissist because no one but you can see what they're really doing and who they really are. This is why they're so frustrating. This is why you feel like you're going crazy. And it's likely why you become so defensive when they look so good on the outside. If you are someone who's dealing with a covert narcissist, you might be feeling hopeless. You might be feeling overwhelmed. You might be feeling angry because they are doing things that make them look good and you look bad. I was you just a few years ago, and I know how it feels to feel so disempowered by someone who is living a fake life. But here's what I want to say to you. The truth always comes out, even with the covert narcissist.